Well, here today with tools to regain control over pornography addiction is the author of The Last Relapse, Sathiya Sam. Welcome back to 700 Club Canada, Sathiya. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me, Lori. Always great to be here.
Well, you shared your personal story on our show before, and it really is a profound story of hope of how you had a 15-year struggle with pornography, but eventually found healing and freedom. And you've now written a book, bravo, congrats to you,
Thank
entitled
you.
The Last Relapse. I love that title. Tell us why you wrote this book.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, I had a struggle, a 15-year addiction. And, when I was struggling and looking to get out of this, there were not a lot of resources. So I made just a tiny little decision in my heart that one day I was going to figure this thing out. I was going to get free. And then I was going to do everything in my power to help as many other people as possible get free as well. And a part of that involves resourcing. So we have like a daily podcast, a weekly newsletter, but the real heart of this book was to give all of our best strategies, principles, tools, practicals, everything we possibly could to put it into one resource that people could get their hands on and really begin the journey to freedom as soon as possible.
Well, I'm really glad that you did this because I agree. We need equipping and resources. You can tell someone there is freedom available, but they need help in walking through it. And I love your tagline. It says, realize your potential, reclaim intimacy, and resolve the root issues of porn addiction. Wow. So why are these three keys so important to freedom from pornography?
Well, addiction is debilitating. It erodes your self-esteem, your confidence, and your overall sense of self-worth. So that first part, realizing your potential is because we've observed in my own life and, with the hundreds of clients that we've helped, that when they do start to experience freedom in their lives, they start to discover who God made them to be, why they're on this planet. Suddenly they see the whole world through a different lens. And that's really where everything starts and finishes. The second part, reclaim intimacy, is because we know it from a scriptural standpoint, but it's also scientifically proven now that porn addiction dramatically reduces your capacity for a meaningful relationship, whether it's with God or another human being. And so when people do start to experience freedom from porn, they start to eliminate unwanted sexual behavior, their relationships dramatically improve because the person has more capacity to be present in the relationship and to actually meaningfully contribute. And the last part really just encapsulates the whole essence of our system for recovery, which is that you cannot address things simply at a superficial level. You must actually get underneath the surface, the same way that if you want to remove a weed from your garden, you can't just run over it with a lawnmower. You actually have to get on your knees, uproot that sucker from the ground up, and that's the only way you can be confident it doesn't come back. So our system is about helping guys resolve the roots of their addiction so that they can experience lasting freedom.
Wow. Well, I really think, and you're seeing success with this, but no matter the addiction struggle in your life, there is a root to it that has to be, like you say, pull that sucker out of the ground, right? You've got to
Yeah.
get to the root of the issue. And one of the things you talk about is the importance of taking ownership of what is yours to own. Now, talk to us about why this is so critical.
Yeah, I mean, there is no freedom without ownership, period. And it is so easy in sort of this technology crazed world, hypersexualized society to shift the blame. I could blame, the classmate of mine who exposed me to porn when I was 11 years old in the computer lab of my Christian school. It'd be so easy to blame conditions and whatever else. The reality is, watching porn is a choice. Even when you're addicted, you are making a decision. And the sooner that you acknowledge that and accept it, you can actually be part of the solution. And as long as you're blaming it, as long as you think you're not part of the problem, you actually have no chance of getting free because you're not empowered to actually change the situation. We have a mantra in the Deep Clean community that a mistake made once is a mistake made twice is a choice. And understanding that when you repeatedly are in this destructive behavior, you're regularly choosing to do it. It is a little bit hard. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's meant to be empowering and encouraging that, okay, because I'm responsible, I can actually do something about it. And that really is the launching point for the recovery journey. It's taking ownership and saying, okay, this is my problem to fix, and I'm going to do everything in my realm of control to heal, to grow, and to really to live the life that God's called me to live.
Well, that's so good. I think that's a message for anyone. If you want to be free of anything in your life, you've got to first take responsibility. Let me ask you this. So people, whatever their exposure was, whatever the reason is, maybe they got into pornography, What is the why behind it? Like, what are some of the maybe a key root that keeps people trapped in it? What do you see in your work?
Yeah, there's two primary causes, really, of all addiction, but especially porn addiction. It's pain and intimacy. Simply put, there's usually deficiencies, or I suppose too much in either area, depending on how you slice it. But a lot of people will go to porn just to cope with the stresses of life, to kind of avoid actually facing, pain or discomfort head on. And often it's disconnection as well. And we personally believe that intimacy is the need of all needs. There's a handful of needs that we need to have met to survive. And those needs will get met one way or another, whether they're healthy or not. That's really up to us. And we believe that porn is it's fast food intimacy. It temporarily satisfies the need, but it ultimately leaves you wanting it more than ever before. And I think when guys can really identify those root causes and find healthier ways to process pain or to experience intimacy, then their decision making starts to follow suit, and porn becomes a much less appealing option.
Wow, that says so much, and thank you for just unpacking that for us. What can someone do today then, who's desiring freedom? Where do they begin?
Well, I think we talked about it earlier. You have to acknowledge that actually you are part of the problem. That means you can also be part of the solution. We personally believe that nobody gets healed or really recovers on their own. It always involves at least one other person, and generally, a best case scenario is a community. Johan Hari was a British journalist who famously coined the phrase that addiction, or the opposite of addiction, is not sobriety; it's connection. So I think one of the best things that a person can do who's watching this, who wants to get free, who's sick and tired of the shame, sick and tired of struggling again and again, is reach out, get some help, find a place where you're going to feel safe to open up, find some people who look like they have a bit of a track record and know what they're doing. And the more plugged in you get into a community, the quicker you form meaningful relationships, the faster you'll experience healing and recovery as well.
Wow, that is powerful for everyone listening. The power of connection in community and the power of intimacy in dealing with pain in your life. Thank you so much for your book. Congrats again. And for those who want to get the book and get connected and find help and healing, go to 700club.ca, because all the links are there to order the book, to find Sathia and use your work. Thank you so much for being with us again.
My pleasure, Lori. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.